Imagine opening your front door and finding a woman in tears, handing you a newborn, leaving you with just one sentence. Now he's yours. What happened next forever changed the life of a young couple. And at the end of this story, you will discover a miracle you won't believe is possible. Imagine opening your front door and finding a woman in tears, handing you a newborn, leaving you with just one sentence. Now he's yours. What happened next forever changed the life of a young couple. And at the end of this story, you will discover a miracle you won't believe is possible. Before diving into the story, I want to share something special with you. During this video, I will say a magic word. If you comment with that word, you will enter our contest for a chance to win exclusive prizes every week. Stay with us and look out for the hidden word. A newlywed couple found themselves unexpectedly faced with the responsibility of raising a paralyzed child, leaving them to wonder if they were ready for the task. One day, while their 5-month-old baby was sleeping, their puppy Charlie did something so extraordinary that it moved them to tears, deeming it a miracle. The doorbell rang, breaking the tranquility of their afternoon with its insistent urgency. Tom, engrossed in his coding, barely noticed the sound at first. Meanwhile, his wife Grace, just back from her shift as a devoted nurse and eager for the comfort of their cozy new home on Maple Street, had no idea of the commotion unfolding. After a few more insistent rings, Tom reluctantly dragged himself away from the desk. When he opened the door, the sight before him shattered his usual rhythm. A young woman in distress stood on the threshold, holding a newborn tightly in her arms. Her disheveled appearance and the intense urgency in her eyes left no doubt that their orderly, hectic lives were about to be thrown into chaos. Tom was shocked. He had no idea who this woman was or where she had come from. She looked tired and worn, as if she hadn't slept or eaten in days. Tom couldn't help but feel pity for the poor woman, but above all, he wanted to know why she was knocking at his door. A part of him suspected she might need food, and he knew he could help her. But the words that came out of her mouth left him astonished. "Please," she pleaded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can't take care of him anymore. Now he's yours." Tom was dumbfounded, trying to process the woman's words. The baby, a tiny thing wrapped in a faded blue blanket, cooed softly. The woman suddenly thrust the baby into Tom's arms, handed him a crumpled letter, and hurried away without saying another word. It all happened so fast that Tom couldn't react. For a few moments, it felt like he was in a trance, staring at the baby in his arms, completely shocked. Then he snapped out of it. "Stop," Tom called, but it was too late. The woman was swiftly retreating. Have you ever faced an impossible decision? Would you welcome an unknown child into your life, knowing it could turn everything upside down? Write your thoughts in the comments. Tom thought about chasing after her, but it was as if she had turned around a corner and disappeared.
Hi there. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel. It's completely free and takes just a second, but it means the world to us. Your support is the reason we can keep bringing you incredible stories every day.
He couldn't exactly run through the streets after a mysterious woman while holding a baby. Tom's heart raced as he looked down at the sleeping newborn, feeling a mix of confusion and terror. Grace arrived moments later, her eyes widening at the sight of her husband holding a baby on the doorstep. "Tom, what?" Her mind raced to strange places. At first, she thought Tom had betrayed her. Why on earth would he have a baby? But the thought left her mind just as quickly as it had come. She trusted her husband and knew there had to be an explanation. Without saying anything, Tom handed her the letter. They read it together, their expressions growing more serious with each line. The letter explained that the woman, unable to care for the baby, knew he would be safe with the Millers. She had chosen them because she knew Grace was a nurse, someone capable of providing the care the baby needed. The woman had given birth 3 months prior. She had no family to turn to, and the baby's father had abandoned her upon learning the child was paralyzed from the waist down. It wasn't her fault, yet those around her treated her as if she were guilty, as though giving birth to a paralyzed baby somehow made her evil. Overwhelmed and unable to meet the baby's needs, she reached a breaking point. Through tears, she explained that she needed time to care for herself. Though she was deeply saddened by her decision, she expressed her belief that Tom and Grace could provide the extra love and care her baby desperately needed. She added that she had seen Grace at the hospital during her delivery, and since Grace had been kind to her, she decided to give her the baby. Along with the letter was another document granting Tom and Grace custody of the baby. However, she hadn't given them the birth certificate, so they had no idea who the baby was or who the woman was. The couple exchanged surprised glances, then returned to the letter, reading it again to ensure it was all real. Once they realized this was truly their reality, Grace's maternal instincts kicked in immediately. She brought the baby inside, comforting him with sweet whispers. Despite their shock and uncertainty, they instinctively knew they needed to face the situation. As loving and caring people, they would never allow a child to suffer. This baby, now completely alone, needed them more than ever. He was their unexpected blessing, and they promised to give him all the care and love they could offer. As the weeks went by, the Millers adapted to their new roles as parents. They named the baby Oliver and quickly fell in love with him. It was difficult at first. Oliver needed urgent care to assess his health and monitor his condition. They didn't know if his paralysis would prevent him from living a full life. Grace took a few weeks off work to care for Oliver. What would you do if someone left a baby in your hands, completely trusting you? Would you feel up to such a huge responsibility? Fortunately, she had a few days off, and the hospital was flexible about maternity leave, so it wasn't a problem. The couple felt relieved when they learned that Oliver's paralysis would allow him to live a full life. Of course, he would never use his lower body, but he had the potential to grow and become independent. Sleepless nights and endless diaper changes became their new normal. After settling in for a few days, Grace and Tom called their lawyer and informed him of what had happened. They needed advice on how to proceed. Their lawyer took a few days and then told them that since every attempt to locate the biological mother had failed, they could formally adopt Oliver. Additionally, they had an agreement signed by the biological mother, meaning they could proceed without anyone contesting the adoption. Grace, being the kind woman she was, agreed to legally adopt Oliver. Despite everything, she felt empathy for the woman and her situation, but she still hoped that one day she would reach out to reunite with her son. However, life had to go on. Little did the couple know that life was about to gift them another miracle. In the midst of their new routine, another surprise appeared at their door. One cool morning, Grace found a scruffy little puppy shivering in their yard. Do you believe in destiny? Was it just a coincidence that the puppy appeared right when this family needed support the most? Or do you think there's something greater at work? His fur was unkempt, and he looked lost and frightened. Without a second thought, Grace scooped the puppy into her arms and brought him inside. Tom was initially hesitant and worried about the added responsibility, But Grace's determination prevailed. They decided to take the puppy to the vet. The vet confirmed that the puppy was lost, with no identification. Aside from a slight illness, he was in good health. However, Charlie seemed distrustful of others. Despite their kindness, Charlie appeared wary of people. Can an animal change the course of a family's life? Do animals really have a special connection with us humans? He loved spending time with Grace, but showed marked hostility towards Tom. The main problem was that the puppy was also restless when Grace was with Oliver. This was not a good sign. Initially, Tom wanted to give Charlie away, as his behavior was becoming problematic, and they couldn't risk Oliver getting hurt. Then, a few days later, Tom took Charlie for a morning walk, giving them the chance to bond. The puppy soon grew attached to Tom. This made the couple think that, after a while, even Charlie would warm up to Oliver. Life became a whirlwind of activity. Grace juggled her demanding job at the hospital with nighttime feedings and diaper changes. Tom adjusted his work schedule to help more at home. The couple found themselves in a delicate balancing act between work, household chores, and caring for both Oliver and Charlie. Charlie was particularly needy, craving the attention he had never received. On the other hand, Oliver needed more attention to ensure he got enough exercise for his lower limbs. Grace and Tom's families were very supportive, but had busy schedules and couldn't help too often. When they visited, Charlie barked aggressively at them. Hey, hold on. The magic word of today is miracle. Comment miracle down below to enter our weekly contest. Winners will receive exclusive prizes. And now, back to the story. It seemed that Charlie was very protective of his new family, making it known that intruders were not welcome in his space. Despite the chaos, there was an underlying sense of joy. Oliver's contagious laughter and Charlie's playful antics brought light into their lives. Their home was filled with love, even during the busiest moments. However, the challenges were far from over. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Grace noticed that Oliver had a fever. When it didn't subside after a few hours, panic seized them as they rushed him to the hospital. However, there was a ray of hope amid this storm. After a series of tests, the doctors emerged in the waiting room with surprising news. Sorry to interrupt, but before continuing with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It's very important to us. Thank you so much. They confirmed that Oliver had a rare condition. It seemed that this condition caused his legs to temporarily become paralyzed, which meant there was a chance for Oliver to regain movement. The couple was over the moon. What a miracle. Unfortunately, the doctor couldn't tell them exactly when this would happen, but urged them to remain positive and hopeful. He also informed them about the proper way to care for Oliver, as he was susceptible to infections. Grace explained how they had cared for Oliver so far. The doctor was impressed and commended them. He then set up an appointment for 2 months later, hoping the couple would have some good news by then. Oliver's condition required constant vigilance and specialized care. Grace and Tom took turns staying home to care for him, their hearts breaking as they watched their baby struggle. They clung tightly to the hope that progress would come soon. Sensing the family's distress, Charlie stayed close to Oliver. His loyal presence provided comfort. One night, completely exhausted, Tom fell asleep on the couch while Grace was out running errands. The baby monitor on the coffee table crackled softly, a vigilant sentinel over Oliver's crib. Charlie lay at Tom's feet, ears perked up, on alert for any sounds. This part of the story illustrates that even the smallest acts of courage can change everything. Are you ready to see what Charlie will do to save Oliver? Hold on tight. Despite his initial behavior, he had grown fond of Oliver, and they were now almost inseparable. It seemed Charlie understood that Oliver needed special care and had decided to be his protector. A slight thud woke Charlie up. He hurried into Oliver's room, his instincts taking over. The baby had somehow slipped through the vertical bars of his crib while he slept. He was precariously dangling off the edge of the bed, the top of his head pressed against the floor. He was in a dangerous position. His head barely supported his body. It was very, very dangerous because Oliver's lower limbs were paralyzed, making it impossible for him to twist back into the crib. His head and neck would not be able to support his weight much longer. At any moment, he would fall completely to the ground. Given the angle of his body, such a fall would likely be fatal. What the puppy did next was a miracle. It was as if the little puppy could perceive the urgency of the situation. Approaching Oliver, he gently tried to push him back towards the crib with his nose, using his body to protect the baby from further harm. Tom woke up to the sound of Charlie's whimpers and rushed to the nursery. Isn't it incredible how a simple animal can show a level of protection and intelligence that we often underestimate? Do you think dogs can really be heroes? In the last video, many criticized animals in the comments. Let's see if anyone loves and defends them in this one. Let us know in the comments. The sight that greeted him warmed his heart. He arrived just in time to witness Charlie's final effort as he finally managed to push Oliver's body back into the crib. Tom rushed over to where Charlie was now protectively standing beside the crib. Oliver was safely lying back down, his small hands clutching the puppy's fur. Tears formed in his eyes as he realized the depth of the bond between Charlie and Oliver. Grace returned home and found Tom and Oliver asleep in the nursery, Charlie curled up beside them. She quietly joined them, overwhelmed with gratitude for their little family. Despite the challenges, they had each other, and that was enough. Days turned into weeks, and Oliver's condition slowly improved. The temporary paralysis began to fade, and he regained movement in his legs. The Millers were on cloud nine, their hearts filled with hope for the future. Balancing work, parenting, and the care of Charlie became easier to handle as they settled into a routine. Oliver continued to grow, his laughter and smiles lighting up their days. Charlie remained a faithful companion, always by Oliver's side. On a sunny afternoon, the family gathered in the garden for a picnic. Oliver, now a lively little boy, chased Charlie across the lawn, his laughter echoing in the air. Grace and Tom watched with smiles, their hearts full. In that moment, they realized that the triggering event that had brought Oliver into their lives was a blessing in disguise. They had become a family, bound by love and strengthened by the trials they had faced together. But there was still a surprise in store. A few days later, the doorbell rang. Charlie ran to the door with Oliver joyfully walking just behind him. Tom, being the closest, stepped forward and opened the door. Blood drained from his face when he saw who was waiting for him. It was Oliver's biological mother. Immediately, Tom called for Grace. And what would you have done in their place? Oliver had a second chance. Do you think that everyone deserves a second chance in life? Share your opinion in the comments. As soon as she saw Tom's face and the woman on their doorstep, she immediately understood who it was. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at the woman. Her heart broke, believing that the woman was there to take Oliver away. Grace stepped aside to let the woman and her companion in, without thinking further. However, the woman made no move to enter the house. Instead, she handed Tom some documents and left once again. Of course, there was a letter, just like last time. The woman, Carla, explained that she had received the help she needed and was in a good state of mind. She apologized again for her actions and wished the couple all the happiness and love they deserved. She also said that it was completely up to them whether they wanted to tell the child about her. She promised never to contest custody, as she had made peace with her decision. She was now about to get married and just wanted to close this chapter of her life. Grace thought Carla's words were a bit selfish, but she couldn't judge her. Having Oliver and facing the hate she had endured had probably traumatized her. But Oliver's story doesn't end here. Just when the Millers thought they had found a new normal, another unexpected event knocked on their door. Literally. Stay with us, because what happens next will leave you speechless. Grace wished she could tell Carla that Oliver was no longer paralyzed, but the die was cast. She smiled to herself, knowing she was about to share even more joyful news with Tom. She was 8 weeks pregnant, another miracle in her life to add to her little family. As they looked to the future, the Millers knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together. Their journey had taught them the importance of resilience, love, and the unbreakable bonds of family. They cherished every moment with Oliver, grateful for his health and happiness. If this part touched your heart, give the video a like and share it with at least 3 people who believe in miracles. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel for more true stories that will make you reflect and move you. Charlie remained a central figure in their lives, his playful spirit and unwavering loyalty a constant source of joy. The bond between Charlie and Oliver grew stronger, friendship destined to last a lifetime. With hearts full of hope and gratitude, they moved forward, ready to embrace whatever adventure awaited them. There was, of course, a letter, just like last time. The woman, Carla, explained that she had received the help she needed and was in a good state of mind. She apologized again for her actions and wished the couple all the happiness and love they deserved. She also said that it was completely up to them if they wanted to tell the child about her. She promised never to contest custody, as she had made peace with her decision. Now she was about to get married and just wanted to close this chapter of her life. Grace thought Carla's words were a bit selfish, but she couldn't judge her. Having Oliver and facing the hate she had endured had probably traumatized her. Grace wished she could tell Carla that Oliver was no longer paralyzed, but the die was cast. She smiled to herself, knowing she was about to share even more joyful news with Tom. She was 8 weeks pregnant, another miracle in her life to add to her little family. As they looked to the future, the Millers knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together. Their journey had taught them the importance of resilience, love, and the unbreakable bonds of family. They cherished every moment with Oliver, grateful for his health and happiness. Charlie remained a central figure in their lives, his playful spirit and unwavering loyalty a constant source of joy. The bond between Charlie and Oliver grew stronger, friendship destined to last a lifetime. With hearts full of hope and gratitude, they moved forward, ready to embrace whatever adventure awaited them. If this story moved you, expect more. In our next video, you'll discover another incredible tale of courage and love that defies all expectations. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell. You won't want to miss it. Remember, every comment you leave helps share stories like this with more people. And as I always say, for every comment, a heart will be happier today. Subscribe now. It's free, but it can make a difference for us and our channel. Until next time. Oh, and remember to comment with the magic word. The magic word to comment for our contests is rebirth.